Voyeurs and insomniacs rejoice, I have the perfect movie for you. So I'm not even going to hide my thoughts on this movie. You see it in the thumbnail. I hated this film. And even calling it a film feels very disingenuous. This is a student project experimenting with his first camera. It's like he gave little Timmy his first wide lens and said, go film something, Timmy, go take over the world. And he somehow made a feature-length film that got funded. I have no idea who produced and funded this shit. It's called Presence. You have this family that moves into a house in the suburbs and they feel like they are not alone. It's getting pretty spooky. What do you think's gonna happen? There's an evil presence in the household, ooh. But it's not a presence. It's just a guy holding a camcorder filming this family as they move in. And they're not a very interesting family, let me tell you. From the opening scene of this movie, I knew I was in for a full-on doozy, and not a good one. You're watching this guy carrying a camera as the POV of the ghost or the presence, whatever you want to call it, walking around in a poorly lit, empty house, wide lens camera, shaky cam and all, seasickness 90 seconds into it. And my God, was this movie an absolute fucking slog. This is one of the most boring movies I have ever seen, probably bottom 5. I legitimately pondered walking out of this film within the first 5 minutes. I have never done that before in my life. It is unfathomable to me that this movie ever got released on a big screen. You know, when you go to a hotel, every hotel has the cuck chair. This movie is about as interesting as that proposition and as appealing as it. Don't ask me how I know that. So if that sounds appealing to you, if you like found footage and you want to be the found footage, this is the perfect movie for you, because all it is a guy walking around with a shaky cam, very fast, may I add, so it does make you seasick. And he's just watching this family hang out and live. No scares, no jumps, nothing suspenseful. And you're just watching this family that is not interesting at all. This is already the hardest watch of the year by far, and I will all but promise this movie will be in my bottom 3 after I watch all the other movies this year. It's been quite a while since I hated a movie this bad, and as I said, to even call the movie is kind of disingenuous. There's really no continuity or narrative driving this film. It's just a compilation of different shots from this spirit's perspective, and it just cuts to black and then it resumes somewhere else. And it keeps doing this for the entire 90-minute runtime. It feels like 9 hours. So there's basically nothing good about this film, but if I have to nitpick 2 things, there's 2 or 3 moments where there's a soothing piano. I like that type of shit. So I like the piano sound of this. It was relaxing. Second off, this movie has a Lucy Liu in it. She's nice to look at. I like her work from previous. So that's all this movie has going for it. Everything else, holy shit, is it bad. I just kept sitting here wondering how this movie got funded and what the narrative central point of this film is. I just kept thinking of it as, this is not a presence. This is a guy in a gimp suit hiding in the closet, holding a camcorder, just watching these people talk about their Chipotle orders and drama within the family. It is literally one of the most shallow, pointless slogs I have ever seen. If I didn't already say it, there's no scares in this film. There's no suspense to it. It's art house. There's not really anything horror here. It's the newest trend of an experimentation that's getting 2 thumbs up because people tried something, but the end product is absolute garbage. This movie is so boring, it makes In a Violent Nature feel like the original Die Hard. And all that movie was 2 hours of watching this guy walk around in the forest and crunch leaves. I mean, that movie was insufferably boring. This movie's in its own tier of itself when it comes to up its own ass. Kind of reminded me of a movie I saw a couple of years ago that was up for a bunch of Oscar talk called A Ghost Story. And a bunch of critics thought this movie was just so compelling and it had so much to say. If you haven't seen the movie, basically what happens is this guy dies early on in it, and he's just in the background of the entire movie wearing a bed sheet over his head. And apparently that's really profound because it's supposed to illustrate what it's like with the passing spirit, being able to see what's happening, but you can actually just see him lurking there. And they actualize that by having this guy stand around with a bed sheet over his head because he's a ghost. This movie felt like it was the POV of the ghost in A Ghost Story, where you're just watching a compilation of scenes that have no purpose, not narratively driven, from the perspective of what's apparently a ghost or a presence that's not very threatening. And it's just watching people live. So if you want to watch this movie and not pay any money for it, just go to a neighbor's house and set up a camera and go collect the film in a week. And whatever they were doing, you're the fly in the wall and the ghost who saw it all go down. In fact, this movie's kind of why I made a YouTube channel, because I remember back in the day, I would either look up reviews and go, oh, that movie got really good ratings. I'm going to go see Presence. Or I would watch a movie like this and say, there's no fucking way Presence is liked by 90% of critics. And this is why I made a YouTube channel. I wanted to talk to normal people about movies, how normal people watch them. And I watched this film and I thought that. I go, there's no way 90% of critics like this movie. And it's because I've come to realize a lot of critics are just so up their own ass, snobby, artistic, pretentious. You have to huff so many of your own farts to find this movie to be profound or inspirational, or whatever you want to call it. There is no substance to this film. You're just watching a guy who's a voyeur, a fly on the wall of this family, and nothing happens. It's been so long since I've had a passionate hatred for a movie like this. Like, I have no idea how this movie was created. And don't get me wrong, I always say everybody should go out there and check out whatever they want for themselves, form their own opinions, talk to me, we can agree, disagree. This is one of the very rare occurrences. Do not spend money and support this pile of shit. Wait for it to come to streaming. It's not lost on me. There's probably going to be two camps of people. Probably a lot more in my camp if I feel like I got a good gauge of society. But there's going to be two camps. You're going to have a camp of people who finds this so artistic, so interesting. The experiment is just so profound, and they get something so touching out of this subtle but pointless movie. And other people are going to be in my camp, and they're going to walk out of this thing halfway through, and they're going to go, that might be the worst movie I have ever seen. And there will only be two camps. There will be no middle ground to this film. 10 out of 10 stars, 1 out of 10 stars. I feel like 80% are going to be in my camp. Time will tell. But if you feel like you share sentiments with me a lot of the time, do not go and waste your time or money on this pile of shit. So yeah, there's really nothing else to even talk about in this film. There's no acting to talk about. There's no plot conveniences. There's no narratives. There's no character development. There's none of that happens. You're just watching this family from the camera's POV. So unless you're a serious voyeur, you ever wondered what that chair in the hotel was like, I recommend you stay away from this film because it is absolute dog shit. Probably one of the 5 worst movies I have ever seen. So if you somehow managed to see this film and you want to waste your time and money on it, comment down below. Let me know. Did you agree, disagree? Did you hate this film as much as me? As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, join me down below. I love talking movies with you. Peace.